Welcome back to Mike's Miniatures, the place for all things mini wargaming, and in today's video we're doing part 2 of the Watchmaster. In this case we're going to go on to painting. So if you remember from, it's been a while now ago, we got to this point with the Watchmaster, with him being all assembled and built, as well as creating the base for him using some milliput to kind of create a roughly hewn rock or marble or something that we're going to do here. So we're going to get into with the video here on how it goes. So here we go with building that. We're going to start with our main color of matte black. And I am going to have to apologize to you guys here, one, for the fact for how long it took for me to actually get this video made for the part 2 of it, and two, even though this video is now here, what you're seeing, what we're going to go through with painting, we're only going to go through half of it of actually painting it. You're not going to see me go from start to finish with the painting cut, because as I was filming and pausing to take the photos of step by step of what I do with this here, the video files got corrupted and I don't have a second Watchmaster to kind of paint to redo the whole thing. So it's we'll go as far as we can with this, and then when we get to the point near the end of the video of how I built or painted up the different sections of the Watchmaster, we'll then definitely go from there. But in this first step, we're going to do basically our matte black, and we're going to paint everything all over, because the entirety of this model, he is majority black power armor, and then a lot of details and filament here. So it doesn't really matter whether I'm going to do anything gold, silver, or any other different color. I'm just painting everything black. And as you can see, I'm not being very careful here. It's nice to have a black base paint on as well anyway, despite the colors, because this will help with any recesses and shading and things like that of the colors when I have them super thinned out, because having a dark versus a light will help create those automatic shadows here for us. So I'm getting into all the nooks and crannies of the cape right here. As you can see, I'm trying to get right underneath to the legs here, and getting the power weapon, or the force halberd that they have. And I gotta say, I love that weapon that the Watchmaster wields right here. I think it's a shame that Space Marines don't get to normally carry that weapon, except for the Watchmaster and the Adeptus Custodes. I think out of everything Grimdark, the halberds and the spears and things like that, that the Watchmaster, the Adeptus Custodes, and the Grey Knights, that's probably my favorite looking weapon that the Space Marines can carry and have. And ultimately, if I was a Space Marine, that's probably the weapon I would want to wield too, rather than a sword and a bolter or anything like that. But that's neither here nor there. That's just something fun to think about here. So now I've got the entire model all based in the black paint. I'm just going to let it sit right here to the side. And then we are going to get my next color ready, which is this ceramite white. And why the ceramite white? Because that's going to be the base. So the base, I've decided, since he is a special character, and this model will probably be Legends or replaced hopefully in 11th edition, so I'm going to make this guy look really good for display on my shelf. I'm going to have him stand on a marble base, and so I want the base color of it to be white, obviously, and I'm going to be doing multiple layers of coats of paint of white on here. This is just the first one, and letting it get laid down, just dry, and put that off to the side. And where I'm at in a dry desert climate of the United States, my paint dries really, really quickly, even without a fan on. So that's why I have to use a wet palette. So at this point, I start using the red paint, which is Mephiston red, and I'm going to start doing every cloth bit to be red right here. So starting with his little tabard up in the front and his cape in the back, they're going to be a nice deep red color for this model. The box art has him also wearing red, but the inside of his cloak is going to be white. I could do that, but I'm just going to be lazy and just paint the entire thing red because I just can't be bothered with it. As you can see, it's a lot of little details here, and I want them to still be kind of uniquely mine and not just a carbon copy of the box art. So I'm just gonna, that's an executive decision on my end. And at this point, I also, as you saw, I'm getting close to the power pack and things like that. I want that to remain black, so I got to be very careful with details that I don't want to be red. I'm going to just be very extra careful, and when there is parts that I don't have to worry about, I just go to town with it right here. You probably noticed I'm using an old prescription bottle with some blue tack to hold this marine, just so I can paint up the base to be slightly different. This is a new method that I am relatively new at starting, and I kind of like it. If I'm going to do more detailed painting with the models, rather than drill pins in their feet and things like that and hope that it holds, I'm going to do maybe a little bit of blue tack and just hold it in place and make multiple paint handles. So I can't remember where I learned this trick, but I'm going to continue to use it as I continue to build up the Deathwatch army and any other models that I come across at this point. Be very careful in the back and the background there. Get on his arm. And then it's, as you can see, it's kind of dry, so I'm adding almost like a second coat as I go along with it because it's that hot where I'm at, even during the fall time of year when this was filmed. And that's it. So from here, now I'm going to be adding the silver. And this model has some very interesting inlays that are kind of like a beaten silver color with the Inquisition symbols on his legs and his hip armor on his chest, and then obviously his whole left arm is going to be silver with gold and brass details for the different inlays and things like that. So just taking my fine point brush, just getting into those details, going to get the vents on the power pack, and then any other metallic bits that I can find, I'm just gonna paint it all up with the silver. Just being very careful because I've just did all that work on the red and the black. I don't want it to overspill too much, and if there is an overspill, that's perfectly fine. You can always fix it later. Just take your time, be slow, and don't stress. To breathe. That's the biggest trick I've learned with this hobby, just to breathe while you paint with the small details. If you mess up, it's fine. You can always fix it later. It's a model, it's not life. So there we go, getting the trigger for the gun on the halberd. Seems kind of a bad place to have a trigger for the gun on there, but I guess where else are you going to put it? And we get the spike. And I always base all my power weapons with the silver like this. Pardon for the bad. The camera really likes to focus on my hand and not on the model. But always with power weapons, I base them in silver before I do my technique of trying to make them have a blue or purple or green shine, showing off the power. In this case, I'm going to do blue with this guy. Getting all in those details of the gun. Kind of dusty little hair there, so I had to make sure that was gone. And then clearing the water pot, get a slightly bigger brush here. This is where I'm going to now focus on the shoulder pauldron and the arm. I don't need the fine detail to do a large area like this. I need a slightly bigger one, so that's why I got this out. very careful around the black there. Some overspill, but I can correct that later. And there you go. That's the silver. And it's at this point, guys, that any and all footage that I had has been corrupted and I can't use it in any way, shape, or form. So it's going to be photos from this point on. But you can see here, this is what he looked like in much better detail after the silver was put on. And the next set of colors I basically did was the gold. Now the gold, this guy has a lot of gold details on him, as you can see on his chest. His entire right shoulder pauldron is gold. We use some wraith bone for the scrolls that are hanging off to his side that have the purity seals. And then all the sets of keys he had, and his little wrist arm, as you can see right here, it's kind of it's a key of some sort for a watch fortress that has multiple combinations that you can do and opening it up. It's kind of like a R2-D2 with the little thing that he sticks into the wall there and allows him to open up certain doors that only he will have access to. And any, not AI, but former computer defense systems in that, while he's wearing this and it's attuned to him, he can access it and shut it down or turn it on, things like that. That's the unique thing for the Watchmasters right here. And then obviously Wraithbone for the skull up top here. I gave him his automatic eye right here, mechanical eye, made hit blue, but the servo skull red to give it that differential thing here. And as you can see on the backpack, the cape, the sculpted details of the Inquisition symbols, I just did not a very good job of base coating those white because there's quite a bit of spillover, but that's perfectly fine because when you add the wash of Agrax Earthshade, as you see that I did here, this brings out a lot of the details and cleans up a lot of that white that I have here. And when you're looking up close to this right here, it's not going to look absolutely the best, but from a tabletop point of view, when you're 2-3 feet away and you're playing with this on the tabletop, it looks fantastic. And so that's kind of how I'm doing this right here. And then we start doing the highlights with the cloak right here and the tabard. As you can see, I use a brighter red to just do all the main highlights, leaving the recesses that extremely dark red that the Agrax Earthshade did. And you can see how well that cleaned up all the Inquisition eyes on his cape right there on the back too. That was really fun to do right here. And then this was basically the finished model after I finished doing all the highlights with my blue effect for the power weapons and the power spike, and then doing some highlights of the black power armor with a Mechanicus standard gray, doing like an edge highlighting on it here, giving the shine on the lenses with a simple pure white dot, as well as the Inquisition symbols, giving them slight highlights with white at different points. This watch captain right here, I couldn't decide with his right shoulder what chapter he's going to be, so I left it black. Maybe he's a Black Shield watch captain who is always on the watch fortress. That's why he's so old, and he's always patrolling and protecting the watch fortress that's near my home planet of Sanctoris here for my chapter. I don't know. We'll see what lore and fun things we can come up with for him here. But that's really the video, guys, of the second half of how to paint the watch captain right here. Leave a comment down below of what you think, and obviously, if you wanted to get this model for yourself, there'll be links down below on how to get that to support the channel. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but it gives me a kickback using those affiliate links. So until next time, guys, I've been Mike, and this is Mike's Miniatures. Bye-bye.